Welcome back to your Peterborough. We're here on location at Kawartha Food Share on Neil Drive here in Peterborough. I'm delighted my guest who could join me today because she's a pretty busy person, especially at this time of year, but all times of year, is Ashley Aiken. Ashley's the general manager of Kawartha Food Share.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for having us.
Of course.
I had never been here before, and you think after a certain amount of time in Peterborough, you think you'd get to see everything, right? But I'd never been here to your warehouse before. It is massive. I mean, it is huge, and that tells me a couple things. That you have a pretty serious operation here that has a lot of different facets, but it all obviously kind of points to the need, right?
Absolutely.
And before we talk about that need, and especially one particular fundraiser for Kawartha Food Share that is coming up quickly, just want to talk about Kawartha Food Share, kind of the A to Z, what this place is about, how it works.
Absolutely. So we are the central distribution center for emergency food in Peterborough and County. So what happens is we have member agencies that access our warehouse for food support. We have 37 direct agencies. So these are food banks, meal programs, housing shelters, essentially anywhere where someone can get emergency food in the city. We also have about 20 other agencies that we provide emergency supports for. And then 51 schools that access the warehouse for breakfast and nutrition programs. So it's a pretty busy place, especially this time of year, like you said. And our main role is to, acquire food through various different ways, whether it's food drives, whether it's corporate donors, through Food Banks Canada or Feeder Ontario, the agencies that we belong to. We bring it into the warehouse, we sort it, we make sure it's safe for consumption, it's not past the best before date, it's not damaged. And then from there, we build orders for the food banks who then supply the client. So there's a large infrastructure that exists in Peterborough for emergency food, and we're just kind of, the top of it, and it trickles on down.
And this place is kind of going pretty much every day.
Oh, absolutely. We're here Monday to Friday. Working in the warehouse, we rely very heavily on volunteer support. We only have 5 staff that actually work here. Everyone else that is here is a volunteer, and they're incredible. And we also do work weekends behind the scenes. You just, you don't see us here from 9 until 4 like usual, but we're here working.
You mentioned the food banks and the schools and that, you basically provide the food for them that is collected.
Right.
Are they still allowed to collect food on their own? Like,
Absolutely.
Are they still not allowed, but do they still do that, bring in their own contributions as well?
Of course, we encourage them not to rely 100% on Kawartha Food Share, only because we don't know day to day what it looks like in here. Sometimes donations, like this time of year, people associate giving with the holidays. So there's lots of food coming in, and our orders are quite large and quite full. But there's times of the year where donations are down. We're doing a ton of purchasing, and the food banks also have to do that too. So they have community support as well. But I'd say for the most part, most of our food banks rely about 95% on donations from us.
One thing about the work that you do, and you know this, we talked about it, is it's so reliant on the economic climate of the time, but also we just came through 2 years of COVID as well, right? So give us an idea of, what how the operation was doing pre-COVID, and how that changed with the advent of COVID.
Basically everything has changed in terms of food insecurity. Client numbers have gone up, donations have gone down, volunteers have gone down. We really had to maneuver quickly, and not just at the warehouse here, but at all of our agencies. So essentially pre-COVID, we had about 100 volunteers in here a week, doing various tasks, whether that's sorting food, building food orders, driving and doing our pickups or deliveries. And we went down to about a team of 10 throughout COVID in an effort to keep people safe. I mean, we're working with very vulnerable populations. A lot of our volunteers were older and retired, and we didn't want to risk them getting sick. And that also happened at the food banks. A lot of our food banks the majority of them are volunteer run, again, by an older population. And so people left, and we had to quickly come up with a way to ensure that, you know, we were still supplying the same amount of food, if not more, to the many people that were struggling. Our food banks, we've always done, you know, a shopping model of food banking where a client goes in, they shop, they pick whatever they want. It's not like, here's a box of food, see you later type of deal.
Right.
But throughout COVID, some of the times we had to switch to a hamper style just in an effort to keep everyone safe. Some food banks weren't allowing clients into the building, so we did everything outdoors. It was just a whole shift of operations on many levels. We actually started a drive-through food bank because, of course, schools closed and our student nutrition programs closed. And some families are relying on 2 meals a day from these schools that they just no longer had.
Sure.
So we did a drive-through food bank we partnered with a couple of our member agencies to do that, and we're serving 10,000 kids throughout that program. So, I mean, the need changed and our dynamics changed, but we somehow managed to get through it, and here we are. Not quite on the other side yet, but we're trying. We're encouraging volunteers to come back, and food banks have gotten back to, you know, the shopping model that they once did, and things are looking up.
I could only imagine how busy those 10 people were.
Looking back, I honestly do not know how we've made it through the last couple of years. Until this summer, it was just, you know, the 10 of us, and oh my gosh, I thank my lucky stars for our team every day. They are just so incredible, and everyone here is here for the right reasons. They really just know, unfortunately, there's a large need in our community, and they've stepped up to the plate and worked long, long hours, and oh gosh, they're just amazing people. I'm so thankful.
And I think it's important to note when we talk about, you know, people that are using food banks, you know, it's like so many other things, right? When we look at other societal issues or challenges in the community, we sometimes affiliate that with a certain group, right? But, you know, everybody eats.
Yeah.
But not everybody, and it doesn't really matter what your income is. I mean, everybody at some point or another, or not everybody, but a lot of people have challenges. And that has nothing to do with their income or their standing. Situations change, right?
Absolutely, and I think if anything, that's one thing that COVID really, the pandemic has really showed people, is that things can change so quickly. We've seen so many people come through our doors that obviously never expected to be in that situation. People who both were working full time and then their business is closed, or people who had just started, you know, housing renovations. They had bought a house and then both lost their jobs throughout COVID and then had sunk all their money into that. Like, there was so many things that people were experiencing that we never thought, or they never thought would happen, and had to turn to, you know, social services for the first time. And we, you know, that's why we're here. Of course, we try to, there's no stigma attached. We want to help and serve everyone, but there is a pride factor in asking for help, and it's a hard thing to do. And I really hope that, you know, maybe throughout the pandemic, people learn that it is okay to ask for help. There are lots of people out there that are willing to help, but yeah, it was crazy. And even since then, I mean, we've seen so many new faces and continue to see them. I mean, food banks, when they were started, you know, they were basically created for a short-term fix, so people could come, maybe they lost their job, or maybe they're in between jobs, or, you know, in between housing. They would come, get support for a little bit of time, get back on their feet and carry on. And those days are gone. I mean, we see clients for years and years and years, and it's simply because they're just not earning enough. They're deciding between, you know, paying their rent or eating. And those are two basic needs that someone should never have to decide between. And unfortunately they are. And so that's why we're there. No questions asked. Anybody that needs help, there's lots to get.
One of the things that must be particularly daunting for you and well, everyone who's here, is those numbers don't go down. I mean, and probably won't.
No. I've been here almost 9 years, and I've never seen a decrease in clients. And like throughout the pandemic, there was an increase some months of up to 20% at our food banks. And so on average, we usually, when I started, we were feeding about 7,000 people a month at the food banks. Now in the last couple of years, we've seen up to 12,000 people per month. I mean, even this month compared to last year at this time, we've seen an increase of 10%. It's scary. It's sad times out there right now. The cost of inflation is, you know, really hurting people, not just with food, but everything in life. And it's affecting us as well.
And yeah, like those numbers that you just mentioned, they're about as high as they've ever been, right? Is this really the the point where they are at the highest?
Absolutely, and it's scary to think that pre-COVID, Peterborough had the highest food insecurity rate already at 16.5%. So the fact that we've seen that increase is very startling for a city our size. However, the one great thing about our city that not a lot of other cities have is we do have a breakfast program, a lunch program, and a dinner program every single day. We have multiple food banks that they can access. So the help is there for them. It's just really sad that we're in the situation where we see that many people on an average every month.
Let's talk about the need. And when I say the need, I'm a guy at home. I'm watching this. I want to make a donation, but maybe I never have before.
Yeah.
What sort of items would you be looking for? And I'm sure it's a pretty long list.
Yeah, honestly, we never turn down any type of donation, but there are certain things that we do a lot of purchasing of that, the food banks are always in need of. So it's things that have a little bit of protein, a longer shelf life, things that you might not necessarily need a full kitchen to cook with. So like tunas and peanut butters, canned vegetables, soups, pasta sauce, mac and cheese, any of those staple things that you would think of. We always need them. But outside of that, we also are always looking for, kids' snacks, anything that you would send to school with your kids in their lunch. About 17,000 kids a day are using our student nutrition programs in the city. So large numbers, and we need a lot of support there. But we also have lots of people in the community that are donating things like fresh vegetables from gardens in the summer. We have beef farmers that donate beef every single month, or pig farmers that donate pork, eggs. We purchase a lot of local eggs, but we also have lots of people that donate eggs. Honestly, there's nothing here that we wouldn't accept. If you're grocery shopping for yourself, anything that you'd be buying for yourself, we absolutely take here.
Really, the whole concept is community looking after community.
Absolutely.
That's really, at the end of the day, that's really what this is all about.
Absolutely. And I mean, we are really proud of our member agencies and all of the work that they're doing, kind of on the front lines. We're behind the scenes here a bit, but that's it. We wouldn't be here without the support from our community. Basically, our only guaranteed funding every year is $32,000. Everything else we fundraise ourselves. And that comes from, generous local people that want to give back and help their neighbors. And I am so thankful for the support that we receive. And it's just every single year, I can't believe how many people, support our cause and want to help each other.
And we are going to talk about one particular fundraiser that is coming up very quickly, your biggest.
Yes.
But before we do that, I'm going to probe a little bit deeper here
Sure.
now, and just ask you, how does one come into this line of work? Like what was your introduction to what's going on here, and how did that evolve?
I get asked this question all the time, and it's just so weird. Like, looking back at my life, I never would have assumed I would be in a role like this, but looking back at things I've done in the past, it makes complete sense. I kind of was always involved in food insecurity growing up. I worked at a soup kitchen in high school on my lunch hours. I went on mission trips and, worked in orphanages, and my parents always had us heavily involved in community. And so I went to university, I studied sociology and history, not exactly sure what I wanted to do, but I always knew I wanted to help. And so when I ended up in Peterborough, and I saw first that they were actually looking for volunteers here, and it wasn't until after that I saw that there was a position. I was like, that is something I would love, and I've just kind of worked my way up, and now here I am almost 9 years later, and I love it.
9 years, I'm going on 10 years as general manager.
Crazy, yeah.
It takes a certain, and not just for yourself, but for everybody that's here that volunteers or as a staff member, it takes a certain level of empathy, right?
Absolutely.
That not everybody has. They want to have it, but it's putting empathy into action, and that's really what you guys are doing here.
Absolutely. I have a great team. I mean, we work together very well, and a lot of them have been here for many years. And you're right, it takes a very special person to do what we do, to work in a nonprofit world for that long. It's not easy, and they are wonderful people who truly just care about helping others. And I'm so thankful for them. I mean, I don't know what I would do without the team of support we have here, including our volunteers and our board of directors. It's just, honestly, it's just such a wonderful place where everyone is so like-minded in the sense that there's an issue in our city and we're here to help, and that's it. It's a feel-good moment at the end of the day when we leave knowing that we've done something positive for our community.
And I don't think it does, but in this type of work, as in any kind of work of this nature, Is it? Do you ever get down a little bit about I don't know if we'll ever have a day where we won't have a facility like this or need it. That would be ideal.
That would be ideal. And like I say that to everyone, please put me out of a job. Like the goal is to not have food banks. And as much as I love doing what we do, the point is to end this cycle. Like we do not want food insecurity. Like we want this to end. We don't want to be here. And yeah, sometimes it is hard. It's a lot to take home, especially when you see people at their worst, they're in survival mode and they're turning to you to help. And it's a lot of pressure, especially right now when the cost of food is going up, our donations are going down. This whole, the world is more expensive than it ever has been. Our dollar's not stretching as far. And sometimes it's a lot to think like into the future. We are all donation based, so it's hard to say like what that looks like. And we want to be there to support every single person that needs help, of course, but it's just hard to envision like what the future looks like. And so sometimes that's daunting, but I don't know, we have a great support system in our community, and I don't think we would ever be in a situation where we couldn't fulfill a need, but
sure.
Sometimes you think about that.
We're going through a wicked period of inflation right now, as you're aware, and that's affected us all in so many different ways, but one way it has particularly affected us is food prices.
Yeah.
You mentioned donations, and again, I'm coming to that event, so just hang on, everybody. But we talk about food prices. Donations are so important, but those food prices are going up, and what you paid a year ago is going to be more this time around.
That's it, and it's affecting us on so many levels. Of course, the food costs are going up, so our clients, can't purchase the little bit of food that they were purchasing, so they're relying more on us. Our donors don't have as much to give because, food costs have gone up and they need to supply their own families. And it's affecting us because we do a lot of group purchasing power through Feed Ontario and Food Banks Canada. And our dollar used to stretch, for every dollar, we used to be able to purchase about $6 worth of food. Now, certain items, it's like $3 or $4. Some items, our dollar's not even stretching at all. And when we're already spending, on average $100,000 worth of food pre-COVID, it's about double now, and it's a scary thing. I mean, that means we need to fundraise more, but like I said, when people don't have as much to give, it's just more work on our end, and
sure,
it's crazy. It's honestly crazy out there.
The demand is always there.
Always.
But talk about this time of year. You alluded to it earlier, the Christmas season, time of giving. You'll get a lot of attention now, but then January and February hits, right?
People do associate giving with the holidays, and I don't want to say forget about us come the new year, but it's at the back of their mind, and I get it. Like, it's an expensive time of year for everyone, and I'm so glad to see the generosity in the month of December. Actually, usually from September onward, when, we have Thanksgiving and things like that, people give more, but we also have a higher need at that time of year. Heat and hydro costs go up. Kids are home from school, so parents are, feeding extra meals during the day. Christmas time, people are trying to afford to put a big dinner on the table and buy their kids gifts, and so they're turning to us more for supports. And we expect it. We know that we're getting lots of donations now, and come December we get very few, and so that's why we have a food budget, and we purchase almost 90% of the food that we distribute throughout the summer.
Because it's predictable.
We know.
Kind of plan.
We know.
Right?
Yeah. And I mean, if we just get all of our support 1 month of the year, we're just happy to get the support. I mean, it doesn't make a difference to us when it comes. We'll always be here to supply the client at the end of the day.
There are a couple of high-profile events during the year that are affiliated with Kawartha Food Share.
Yeah.
One recent one was Porch Pirates for Good.
Yes.
Which did a remarkable job. People leave food on their porch, and
yeah,
pirates pick it up and bring it here, and did terrific again this year. Another big one, or maybe arguably the biggest one from a budget point of view, is Loonies on the Street.
Yes.
And it's coming up on December 9th, Friday morning, 7 to 11 a.m.
7 to 10.
7 to 10, pardon me. But if you want to
But if you want to come after, that's fine too. I'll be there.
Whatever, you'll still be there. 7 to 10 that morning at the corner of George and Simcoe Streets outside of Peterborough Square.
Yes.
This is the 23rd year, and how important is that event to what you do?
This is it's our one big event a year. It's the only event that we, are really asking for monetary donations. All of our other events are mostly food drive oriented. So this is my favorite day of the year by far, and it sets the tone for the following year. Whatever we raise that day is what we go into the next year able to buy food with. So last year, I think we collected just over $130,000, and that was used towards our food budget this year. So there's a little bit of pressure on our end to, ensure the day is a success, but I never like to put numbers out there. We are so thankful for any donation that we get. I don't want to, if we're saying we want to collect 100 and we don't get it, that's fine. We're happy with anything, but it's always such a fun day, and it's great to see the community come out and, freeze on the street corners with us and collect those loonies and toonies.
And having said that, you raised, I think you said a couple of years ago, $180,000?
Yeah, that was our best year yet.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was at the height of the pandemic. That was in 2020.
And that's just small change, right? People coming up, or I mean, there's probably some sizable donations too.
Yeah, people just come and they give what they can, and lots of businesses support us, lots of, individuals locally. We always have a bucket brigade that's up and down George Street, actually the whole downtown core, that collects loonies and toonies and any type of funds from people that are passing by. And it's always just such a feel-good day. It really sets the tone for us for the holidays. It just makes you feel so great and know that, what we're doing, people see and they support and they want to give back and they want to help their fellow neighbors. And that's what it's all about. That's what this whole season's about.
And this is the 23rd year for this?
23rd, yeah.
Wow.
Crazy.
Yeah. It's, well, people are looking for it and they're aware of it, right? And it is coming up, as we mentioned, on December 9th. 7 till 10.
7 till 10, and we're outside this year. The last couple of years we've had to move inside Peterborough Square, just to keep people safe and distant. It was easier to do it that way rather than a whole group of people collecting outside. But we're happy to be back outside. Still, obviously, of course, being very safe. But I hope there's some snow and it just kind of gets us in the holiday spirit.
I'm not a snow guy.
Well, me either. But on that day, I'll take it.
96.7, 90.5 is involved quite extensively
Yes.
again. So well done to them.
Yes.
And certainly, Ashley, well done to you, to your staff here, to your volunteers here. I couldn't imagine Peterborough without Kawartha Food Share and looking after the well-being of so many of our citizens. So I thank you for your time today,
Of course.
and I wish you well with the loonies on the street.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.